To the world, Taylor Swift looked unstoppable. A teenage girl with a guitar, chart-topping songs, and a smile that never faded. She was branded as America's sweetheart, talented, kind, and destined for greatness. But behind that polished image was a young artist stepping into one of the most ruthless industries in the world. Fame came early, and with it came expectations she didn't fully understand yet. Every lyric, every outfit, every word was watched, judged, and dissected. While fans celebrated her success, few noticed the pressure building quietly behind the scenes. Taylor wasn't just growing up. She was doing it in front of millions. Mistakes weren't private. Emotions weren't allowed to be messy. The industry wanted perfection, and the audience expected gratitude. This was the beginning of a chapter rarely talked about. A chapter where success didn't feel like freedom, but like a cage slowly closing in around her. Taylor entered fame before she truly knew herself. As a teenager, she was praised for maturity, but that praise came with a cost. She learned quickly that being likable mattered almost as much as being talented. Saying the wrong thing could end careers. Showing anger could turn admiration into backlash. So she learned to smile through discomfort and stay silent through unfairness. While others her age were discovering who they were, Taylor was learning how to survive criticism. Headlines commented on her dating life more than her songwriting. Her body, her emotions, her choices, all became public property. Each breakup turned into entertainment. Each song became evidence in online debates. Over time, this constant scrutiny shaped how she saw herself. She began to internalize the noise, questioning whether her worth depended on approval. The world saw a confident star. What they didn't see was a young woman slowly losing control over her own narrative. As Taylor's success grew, so did the business around her. Contracts, ownership, branding, decisions were made that she didn't fully control. For years, she focused on creating music, trusting others to protect her interests. That trust would later become one of the most painful lessons of her career. She discovered that the songs she wrote, her personal stories, her emotional diary, were no longer fully hers. The realization hit hard. Imagine building your identity through art, only to learn you don't own it. This wasn't just a business dispute. It was deeply personal. Taylor felt betrayed, powerless, and unheard. Speaking up meant risking backlash. Staying quiet meant accepting loss. The industry expected compliance, not resistance. But this moment marked a turning point. The dark chapter wasn't about losing control. It was about realizing how easily control can be taken when you're young, trusting, and told to be grateful for success instead of protected by it. There was a time when the internet turned on Taylor Swift. Memes replaced praise. Criticism became louder than support. Suddenly, she wasn't the hero of her own story anymore. Narratives formed quickly, and nuance disappeared. People decided who she was without asking her. What made it worse was the silence she felt forced into. Defending herself only made things louder. Staying quiet made people assume guilt. It was a no-win situation. Behind closed doors, Taylor struggled with anxiety and self-doubt. She questioned her voice, her place, and her future. Fame no longer felt like success. It felt like exposure. The darkest part wasn't the hate itself, but how convincing it became. When millions repeat the same criticism, it's hard not to believe it. This period reshaped her. It stripped away illusions and forced her to confront a painful truth. Public love can disappear overnight, but the emotional damage can last much longer. At the height of the backlash, Taylor did something unexpected. She disappeared. No constant interviews. No public explanations. No attempt to win everyone back. It wasn't a marketing move. It was survival. For the first time, She chose distance over visibility. Away from the noise, she reflected on who she was without applause. She rebuilt herself quietly, questioning the version of Taylor the world expected versus the one she actually was. This isolation was lonely, but necessary. It allowed her to process pain without performing it. She realized she didn't need to be universally loved to be valid. That realization became power. When she returned, she wasn't asking for approval. She was reclaiming control. This dark chapter wasn't about hiding. It was about healing. Sometimes stepping away isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the only way to come back stronger, clearer, and finally on your own terms. When Taylor returned to music, something had changed. Her voice was sharper. Her boundaries were clearer. She no longer tried to please everyone. Instead, she told her story her way. She spoke openly about ownership, respect, and creative rights, topics many artists were afraid to address. By re-recording her albums, she did something revolutionary. She turned pain into empowerment. It wasn't revenge. It was reclamation. Each re-recorded song was a reminder that time doesn't erase ownership. It strengthens it. Fans didn't just listen, they learned. Taylor transformed a personal loss into an industry-wide conversation. The dark chapter that once silenced her became the reason others spoke up. This wasn't just a comeback. It was a rewrite of the rules. She proved that artists don't have to accept unfair systems. They can challenge them, even when the odds are stacked against them. Reinvention looks glamorous from the outside, but it's emotionally exhausting. Taylor had to confront past versions of herself. Songs written in youth, pain relived through lyrics, memories reopened for the sake of growth. Healing isn't linear, and success doesn't erase scars. Each step forward required revisiting what once hurt her. But this time, she was in control. She chose vulnerability instead of perfection. She allowed complexity instead of likability. This honesty deepened her connection with fans, but it also required courage. Being real means risking misunderstanding. Taylor accepted that risk. She no longer needed everyone to agree with her. She needed to be truthful. This phase showed that strength isn't about never breaking. It's about rebuilding with intention. The dark chapter didn't disappear. It became part of her foundation. Taylor's journey changed how success is measured. It was no longer just awards or chart positions. It became about ownership, voice, and longevity. She showed that power doesn't always look loud. It looks informed. It looks patient. It looks strategic. By standing firm, she reshaped her career on her own terms. Younger artists watched and learned. Fans saw growth, not perfection. The industry felt pressure to adapt. Taylor didn't just recover from her darkest chapter. She used it to build something stronger. Success, she proved, isn't about never falling. It's about learning who benefits from your silence and choosing not to give it anymore. Her story became bigger than music. It became about agency, resilience, and self-respect in a system that often discourages all three. Taylor Swift's untold dark chapter wasn't about scandal. It was about survival. It was about growing up too fast, losing control, being misunderstood, and choosing not to stay silent forever. That chapter changed everything because it changed her. It taught her that approval is temporary, but self-trust lasts. That fame without ownership is fragile. And that telling your truth, even when it's uncomfortable, can reshape your future. Today, when people see Taylor Swift, they see confidence and control. But that didn't come easily. It was earned through pain, reflection, and courage. Her story reminds us that behind every successful person is a chapter they don't post about. A chapter that breaks them before it builds them. And sometimes, that dark chapter isn't the end of the story. It's the moment everything finally begins.